Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to our Wednesday Kirstenbosch talk. As usual, we're going to give a couple of minutes to let the room fill up. We have a lot of attendees today, so we'll just give a couple of minutes to let the room fill up, and then we'll get on to our introductions and our normal program. As always, it's always lovely to find out where people are joining us from, new visitors and some of our regulars. So if you'd want to pop that into the chat box, it's great to see where everybody is. Rudi is in Bloem. I'm down in Cape Town as normal, and Belinda also. So there we go. We've got Desiree up in Pretoria. Oh, the room is filling up nicely. Hello, Mariska. Oh, lots popping in. Cassia in Cape Town. Hermanus. Who's there? Michael and Hermanus. Oh, it's like a racetrack today. Hello, Yolanda up in Bloem. Elmarian. Who's Desiree up in Kloof. Sure, flying through. Jan in Pringle Bay. Tony in Montague. Blyder River. Sharif and Paul. Good morning, everybody. As usual, we're just letting everybody come into the room for a couple of minutes. People are popping us. We've got Alex joining us from the UK. Mariska, we can't hear your mic, so I'm assuming yes, it's off. Nick up in Polokwane. Chantal and Toti down the south coast in KZN. Another. Right. Perfect. So the room is filling up nicely. I think I can get on to some introductions and we can get going with our talk. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Kirstenbosch Wednesday talk, hosted by Kirstenbosch, presented by Room to Grow and Straight Nature. I'd like to just thank our sponsors quickly first. As usual, Straight Nature. Without Straight Nature, this wouldn't be possible. Straight Nature is the leading specialist natural history publisher in Southern Africa and is associated with the best-selling and most highly regarded field guides in the region. Straight Nature publishes full-color illustrated books across a variety of subject areas, including mammals, birds, reptiles and trees, flowers, the marine environment, geology, astronomy, and general wildlife, and of course, the ever-popular children's nature. And then Room to Grow. My name's Brett. I'm the owner of Room to Grow. We're an exterior design and project management company that's been designing and creating outdoor living spaces in and around Cape Town since 2002. And we offer a complete suite of landscape design, constructed and associated exterior design elements for our retail, commercial, and residential clients. And then it's my great pleasure today to introduce Rudi Steenkamp. Rudi is a spider enthusiast with a passion for macrophotography, particularly of tiny arthropods. By profession, he is a language practitioner specializing in academic editing. In his free time, he photographs spiders found around Bloemfontein or brought back from fieldwork undertaken by arachnologists based at the University of Free State. Although he has no formal education in arachnology, he has learned extensively from knowledgeable individuals and reading articles and books about spiders. In 2022, he became the chairperson of the Spider Club of Southern Africa, a platform he has used to educate people about spiders over the last 10 years. And Rudi's new book, Kids Spiders of Southern Africa, part of the Kids Spiders series, which also includes birds and snakes, will be available at a 15% discount on the online and as well as at the bookshop. Belinda will put those details in the chat box. So Rudi, and Rudi's will kindly do some questions afterwards. So if you'd like to put those in the Q&A box during the talk, just to make sure I don't miss anything, then once Rudi is finished with his talk, we'll get over to those. So Rudi, over to you. Very much looking forward to this. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Okay. So first of all, thank you for Straight Nature and everyone involved in organizing this talk and giving me the opportunity to talk about two of my favorite hobbies, spiders and macrophotography. I'm not an arachnologist, so I'm just an enthusiast who really likes spiders and macrophotography, or photography in general. The two aren't really mutually exclusive. I got into macro photography because of spiders, and taking macro photos of spiders made me appreciate spiders more. So the two were basically linked. I love to take other photos as well, but macro photography is my passion because it's always a surprise what you can see through the lens. I mean, with your naked eye, you see a 2mm or 3mm spider, and once you look through that macro lens, or afterwards when you crop the image and zoom in a little bit, then you start seeing all these little details and start realizing how diverse spiders really are. So many of the photos I will show in this presentation were taken, all the photos are mine actually, except for 3 at the end that were taken by Desiree Pelser. These are photo spiders I haven't had the privilege of seeing. So most of them are from Bloemfontein, but many of them come from fieldwork from arachnologists at the University of the Free State, specifically Ruan Boysen and Charles Haddad. So they bring the spiders back to me to photograph. So I just want to show you the wonderful and misunderstood world of spiders, and that they're not just hairy, 8-legged monsters that you need to fear, and that they can actually be like cute sometimes, like this little jumping spider here, many people's favorites. So yeah, let's start off with a brief introduction to the Spider Club of Southern Africa. It was founded in 1975, so that makes us 50 years old this year. We're actually having a few parties over the country this year. We've already had the one in the Western Cape, and this previous Sunday we had one in at the ARC in the Rhodoplat in Gauteng. The next one will be in Bloemfontein at the end of the year, so keep an eye out on our events for that one. So yeah, we started with 6 members back in 1975, and now we have 650 registered members with 73,000 on Facebook. And we're dedicated to educating the general public. We are not arachnologists per se, but we do want to educate the general person instead of, being too scientific and stuff. So trying to get people into the hobby of spiders and changing perspectives, basically. But we also contribute to science in a few ways, which I will show later. And we try to keep finding ways to engage the public in spiders of Southern Africa. So a few of our community projects. Our most famous, or most popular, is the spider walks. We go into nature with a bunch of people and just go looking for spiders, teaching people about spiders, sometimes have a presentation and so on. It's usually about 30 people, but sometimes fewer as well. Then we also have identification workshops. These are mostly in Gauteng at the ARC. We might try to expand that to other places in like Cape Town and Bloemfontein in the future. Photographic workshops, we haven't had that in a while, but we did have a sort of a crash course at Sunday's 50th birthday event. So it's just teaching people how to take better photos of spiders, not necessarily with a big camera. You can take good photos with your cell phone as well, especially these days with all the new cell phones with very good lenses. Then we do expos, mostly Yebo Goga at the University of the Witwatersrand. We weren't there this year, unfortunately. We couldn't get somebody to man our stall, but we've been there in the past. I think we've only missed two expos, basically. And then, of course, talks and presentations like this one. Just trying to skip to the next slide. Sorry, my laptop is a little slow, so it's hanging. So these are some of the spider walks we've held. This one is in the Free State. As you can see, it's pretty well attended. Most of these people are beginners. They just want to learn about spiders. Obviously, people bring their children with, but there are some experts in the crowd. There in the back, you'll see Charles Haddad, Prof. Charles Haddad. There's Roan Boysen, he's a PhD student. And Jan Andries Neetling, he specializes in pseudoscorpions, and he's a curator at the National Museum in Bloemfontein. This one is Gauteng. This is where most of our spider walks are held because our event organizer is located in Gauteng. But as you can see, many children are attending these events. They find it very fascinating to go look for spiders and bring their little rock pool nets to catch spiders and so on. In Mpumalanga, we've held one spider walk there. The Western Cape, this is at the in the Renosterveld. There is Norman Larson, also a very well-known person in the spider circles. There's Odette Curtis Scott from the Overberg Renosterveld Conservation Trust. And then the Northern Cape, this was in Kuruman, very, very hot that day. So yeah, wasn't very pleasant walking around. Here in the foreground is Dr. Mike Vickers from the USA. He's currently working at the University of the Free State with Charles Haddad. And Northwest, here you can see two of our founders, Astri and John Leroy. John Leroy was our first chairman, and Astri was the previous chairman or chairperson from which I took over. Then we also do outreach to the Sun Parks Junior Rangers. This is Astri Leroy giving a talk to the Junior Rangers. And then, of course, the media as well, television and radio. This is a few years ago when we were on Kwela. I think this woman is Vanessa Marie de Toy. This is the presenter. She's a giant. As you can see, she's a very tall woman. Then we also do radio. We've been on YFM and Radio Rosestad and 702, Radio 702 FM was recently. And then also, obviously, newspaper articles as well, Network 24. And this is just an example of the Yabagoga Expo. We're usually very popular here because we're one of the only stalls that bring live specimens to for people to watch. So that's usually very popular, people handling rain spiders and so on, baboon spiders. So yeah, just what is macrophotography? I'm not going to go into the technical details. So yeah, this is there's just too many things to say about the technical stuff, but this is basically my setup. It's a DSLR camera with a macro lens. It's a Sigma macro lens. Then you get the speed light flash, and this big thing here is the flash diffuser, which basically just prevents shiny objects from reflecting too much light, basically. So it makes everything a little bit duller and more lifelike. So it is an expensive hobby, and most of my gear is very entry level and or mid level. The DIY flash diffuser, I made it, well, my mother-in-law and I made it. It's basically a table placemat, some plastic and packaging foam pieced together with these little brackets. So it's, even these flash diffusers online are quite expensive. So they're quite easy to make. So yeah. Like I said, all these photos in the presentation that are coming are mine, except 3 that I will point out. There are many other macro photographers on the Spider Club and, in this book, featuring in this book, that are much, much more talented than I am. People like Bruce Blake, Desiree Pelser, Robert Vinant, Andrea Sander, and so forth. There are also a few upcoming macro photographers who just started out, but are showing great talent. So it's quite exciting to see their work. So the role of macro photography in research. There are some hidden details that you might not see with the naked eye that can be captured on camera. Usually microscopes are used in research, but these spiders are usually are dead. They're preserved in ethanol, And the problem is that ethanol sometimes removes the colors of the spiders, the colors and the patterns. So many times photos of live specimens are much, much better because you can see how they stand on their legs, how they walk, how they the colors that are still there, and so forth. For example, this is probably the smallest wool spider in the world. It's only about 2 or 3 millimeters long. By the way, when we measure spiders, we measure them from the tip of the abdomen to the carapace. So we don't include the legs. So this one was about 2 or 3 millimeters. It's an adult with an egg sac. And you can actually see the eggs bulging in the egg sac. So in these cases, you can actually maybe estimate how many eggs are in that egg sac, while other wool spiders might have 200 or more eggs in an egg sac. This is also a wool spider, where you can just see the babies on the back. This is a Xenonina, the stumpback wool spider. I don't think there's ever been photos of them with their babies on their back. So this is also valuable for some people. Of course, you can photograph baby spiders that just hatched. These are tropical tent web spiders that hatched, and then you can document how they look when they grow up. This is a juvenile, and then that's the adult with prey. Another baby spider. This is a rain spider. This is second instar rain spider, meaning it hatched out of the eggs and then molted once inside the egg sac. So that's a second instar. And then one molt later, this is third instar, they changed drastically. You can see it's starting looking like a rain spider. And then, of course, the adult. This is a large funnel web, nursery web spider baby that looks completely different from the adults. That's a juvenile. And this is the female and the male. So they get quite large. Yeah, another role of macrophotography is that they're used in scientific publications often. So this one is burrowing ant spider that was recently described by Rudi Steenkamp and Arnaud Honrad from Belgium. We found this one in Vernon Crookes Nature Reserve in 2020. So this one recently was described and got its name after, it was named after late Stefan Voort. So this is Ascua Voordi. Even the people sometimes who describe these species, like Rudi and Arnaud, have not seen live specimens themselves. So they work with the dead specimens that are preserved in alcohol and ethanol. So sometimes these photos were used in their publication. This is the male. Sometimes even out of focus photos can be useful, because this one here on the right, you can see the resemblance to the ant, where the palps here resemble an ant's head, and when they lift their front legs like this, it resembles the antennae. These spiders were actually found around ants, and so they do associate with ants, but we do not know enough about them really, or their behavior. This is not a very striking spider. This is Ruculus gramineus. It was recently described by Charles Haddad. This was also used in his publication. This is the male Thahen bilineata. It has only the female of the species has been described. So Galina Azarkina from Russia is busy describing the male. And she also asked me if she could use some of these photos in her publication. Then Danny Sherwood from the UK is busy with a paper on eye deformities in spiders. And I sent her some of these photos. This is a northern violin spider with just 2 eyes. They normally have 6 eyes, so the 2 at the bottom here and the 2 there on the left are missing. Then there's another eye deformity in a grass huntsman spider. It looks like it has pupils. So I actually thought that the spider was, this is like a pre-molt condition where the eyes start loosening from the skin before the molt, but the spider did molt and the eyes stayed the same. So this is another eye deformity. These deformities are quite rare, so it's quite useful to have photos of it. Then yes, you can record behavior and other details in spiders. This is a mushroom theridiid, a mushroom comb-footed spider with his head. Its head is flat against the rock here. He's got a little silk thread with tiny droplets of glue. So this is just, I'm not sure if this is the way they hunt or if it's, so it records some behavior like this, which is quite interesting. Obviously predatory behavior like this running spider that's feeding on a different spider. This is a forest huntsman spider. When they feel threatened, they don't, like rain spiders. Rain spiders are also close cousins of theirs, also huntsman spiders. When rain spiders and baboon spiders feel threatened, they lift their front legs and bare their fangs. This one turns around and lifts its abdomen in the air, showing these two little eye spots. So it's counting on trying to look intimidating. But it's actually quite cute how they just turn around and show you their bum. And of course, just egg-sac construction. This is a brown button spider that's busy building its egg sac. They have this little goo that keeps the eggs together, and then they start spinning the silk around it. I have other photos which I did not include here, where they start, when the egg sac is finished, they start adding the little spikes. And these spikes are spun with yellow silk instead of white silk. So when the silk dries, it becomes, the whole egg sac becomes the same color. So I don't know if the yellow silk actually serves a purpose, but it's interesting to capture it on camera anyway. People believe that these spikes decrease the likelihood of parasitic wasps laying their eggs in the egg sacs. This is a pinder button spider with a defensive strategy. Sorry. If they feel threatened, is if you start poking them from behind, they pull out this thread of silk and span it between their two hind legs, and they drop it over whatever is behind them. I got some of this silk on my finger when I tried to photograph this one, and it's incredibly sticky. I wouldn't be surprised if you could shut the mouth of a gecko with that silk. So it's incredibly sticky and difficult to get rid of. I couldn't get the leaves of my finger off, so it was almost like super glue. So this spider was also recently described, 2019, I think. It's probably the biggest button or widow spider in the world. She's absolutely huge. I have photos of them on my hand. These were captive specimens, so they weren't really wild and like this one. And retreats. If you can see the little spider there, this is my thumb. So you can record how they hide in their retreats, what their retreats look like, what plants they prefer, and even spider poop, like this drop here that's hanging on the thread. Not sure if there's any scientific merit behind that, but it's quite interesting to see this droplet. Lastly, it can record symbiosis, like these mites, this parasitic mites on, okay, this is not a spider, it's actually a mite as well. So this mite is covered in other mites. This orange lungless spider that has also covered with mites. These are manted fly larvae that I found in a brown button spider's web. This is the female, there's the male, and these little ones circled in red are the larvae. Here is this is what they look like when they hatched. So these are also parasites. They try to find a spider and they crawl into their egg sacs, which is where they basically eat the eggs and they pupate. And I've never seen one of them in a web before. Usually they target spiders found in the undergrowth, in leaf litter and so on. So then they climb on the spider's back and they wait there until the spider lays her eggs. If they actually climb onto a male's back, they wait until the male finds a female and then just climb over to the female. And then they crawl into the egg sac. So this is the first time I found one in some of these in a web-dwelling spider. So they must have walked about 20 meters from where they hatched in the leaf litter to inside our house, which would have probably taken days, even if maybe weeks, to find these spiders. I'm going to show you what an adult looks like. This is an adult mantid fly, a female adult. They look like mantises crossed with wasps, crossed with lacewings. They are actually in the net-winged family, net-winged insect family, same as antlions and lacewings. This is a male, just another indication of how you can capture tiny detail. Males have these little balloons that they inflate. It's actually hidden under the abdomen there, but when they want to attract a female, they inflate these little green balloons, and it spreads the pheromones. So the female actually comes to find the male, not the other way around. But just want to show you what those look like. So back to the spiders. They are excellent pollinators as well, not as good as bees and certain flies and so on, but they do pollinate flowers. This little jumping spider is covered in pollen, just wiping his eyes clean. And then another form of parasitism, the spider hunting wasps. This wasp is carrying a long-legged sac spider. What this photo actually shows is, I mean, this wasp removes the legs of the spiders to ease transportation and storage. But we always thought that the wasp just bites off the legs. But in this photo, you can see these are very, very clean cuts. So they're not the result of the wasp breaking off or pulling off the legs. Rather, the wasp pulls the legs and the spider self-amputates the legs to try and get away, probably. So that's called autotomy, when the spider actually removes the legs himself. This photo will actually be used in the upcoming Biology of Spiders revision by Rhino Felix. So that's something to look forward to. So yeah, the role of macrophotography in education, just sort of lay people and so on. Now some spiders look very similar with the naked eye. So once you take macro photos, you can start seeing the differences between families and genera and species, like differences in eye pattern, the presence of spines on the legs or on the palps, the shape of the fovea, etc. And of course, it changes perspectives and sparks curiosity. Once people see the diversity of spiders, they're not just hairy and black and ugly, but they can be cute and interesting, then that changes perspectives and people start to want to learn more about spiders. Like, wow, I was only aware of rain spiders and button spiders and sac spiders and violin spiders. So I never knew that the spiders can be so different, all these different colors and shapes. Then of course, it encourages other photographers to contribute. That's actually how I started. I started seeing wonderful photos of spiders on Facebook and so on, other social media. And it frustrated me that I could not take similar photos or even get the eyes of a jumping spider in focus. So that's when I bought my macro lens and started photographing jumping spiders and then other spiders and other insects and so on. And this can inspire people to contribute to social science projects like iNaturalist, the Great Southern BioBlitz, and the City Nature Challenge, where people contribute to their photos, which actually contributes to education and to science. And of course, it also inspires people to attend spider walks and other events held by the Spider Club, so that they can also try and photograph spiders, because they may be bored of the spiders at their house. So they go out on these little trips and try to photograph all these other weird spiders. And then, of course, probably most importantly, macro photos lets people ask questions. So if they see a macro photo, it's like, wow, what's that thing? why does the spider look like this? What's that thing used for? Stuff like that. And then they get answers, and that is how people learn. And of course, children like looking at spiders, at pictures. So that's why we've got this book. It's full of photos. Sorry, very good photos from different macro photographers and so on. It's probably about 400 photos in here. So it's very photo heavy, with some interesting text, obviously. But yeah, kids, and this is where education starts at a young age. So the children are hooked from the start, like they get hooked on dinosaurs and interesting animals just by looking at pictures, like, wow, this is a cool looking animal, so let's grow up and learn more about them. And perhaps the children can also teach their parents something about spiders. So yeah, that's basically macro photography. These are just the common spider families in South Africa. We have 72 spider families, but I will only show 14 of the more common spider families. Let's start with the Aranidae, the orb web spiders. It's a huge family, a very, very diverse family with many different shapes and sizes. They're obviously named after their two-dimensional orb web, but not all orb web spiders actually spin orb webs, or the full circular orb web. Neotheoresidae, the velvet spiders. The Nephosidae, flat-bellied ground spiders. Lycosidae, the wolf spiders. Oxyopidae, the lynx spiders. Philodromidae, known as running spiders. Falsidae, the daddy longleg spiders, everybody knows them. The Besauridae, is some nursery web spiders. Salticidae, the jumping spiders, most people's favorite. Selenopidae, or called the flatties, very common in houses and on rocks. The Spiracidae, or the huntsman spiders, which includes the rain spiders, which everybody know of. The Raphosidae, or the baboon spiders. It's probably the only megalomorph family that I will include in this section. And Therodiidae, or the comb-footed spiders. This is the family that includes the button and the widow spiders. And then the Thomisidae, the crab spiders, another very, very big and very diverse family. So yeah. The Aranidae, I included some of these smaller pictures just to give an indication of, the diversity. I'm aware that some people are watching this on their cell phones, and this won't do them much justice. So I included some of the bigger pictures. As you can see, there's a golden orb weaver, very big spider, and they can be very small as well, like the Saronia statione. They're probably about 3 millimeters big. Yeah, the kite spiders, Gastrocantha, very impressive spiders with 6 spines. The box kite spiders, also 6 spines, but this one actually looks more like a pastry of sorts, like a pepper steak pie or something. Other people would mention something like strudels or whatever. And the bark spiders, masters of disguise. They mimic bark basically. This one mimics lichen, or lichen covered bark. So very big spiders sometimes, fascinating ones. Then ones that mimic bird droppings. There are actually a few genera in this family that mimic bird droppings. Might not look much like bird droppings to you, but to a predator, it probably does. And some other weird ones like this spiky Aronia statione. And this Idiochira, it's a triangle orb weaver. They mimic leaves. Okay, the velvet spiders, very interesting family. Also many people's favorites because they often call the teddy bear spiders or whatever, but they are quite cute and velvety, hence the name. So you get the ones that live under bark, live under rocks, You get ones like these that live in communities called the community web spiders, Stegodyphus demicola and Stegodyphus mimosarum. Very fascinating hierarchy in these nests. They consist mostly of females. So this one, like the male, this is a male. They're not very common inside these nests. They work together to catch larger prey. So stuff like locusts and so on that may be too big for a single spider. So they work together. They sometimes raise each other's children. Macrophage is also quite common, not very common, but it's been observed in some species where the female sacrifices herself for her children to eat. So she starts regurgitating, she starts liquefying her internal organs and regurgitate it for the babies to eat. And when she can't do that anymore, the babies will eat her alive. And of course, you get the buckspur spiders. This is a female there. They spin. Their silkline burrow actually looks like buckspurs. Got a photo in the book here. That one there. So that is what their webs look like. I have not seen these webs, so unfortunately I have never photographed them. You get the ground velvet spiders. They're mostly found under rocks. Rocks and logs and so on. Tree velvet spiders are mostly found under bark. In the community nest velvet spiders. This one is actually one of the solitary species, so it does not live in a community, but still people mostly refer to the genus Stegodyphus as the community nest velvet spider. They all have this little triangle around the eyes. And this is the female buckspur spider. This is the only one I've ever seen. Much, much smaller eyes than the other members of the family. I would very much like to photograph a male someday. Very, very beautiful, much more beautiful than the females. This one was recently found. Ruan brought them back. This one was found, it's Paradonia variegata, was found among bulbator ants. So it's very likely that they mimic or associate with these bulbator ants. As many of you know, bulbator ants have these little yellowish orange abdomen as well. Then the Nephosidae, flat-bellied ground spiders. This is the second largest family in South Africa with about 200 species. These spiders all have, not all, but mostly have these elongated spinnerets that look like exhaust pipes. This is Ibala. This is Aphantaulax. Acimestes are ridiculously fast. I absolutely hate photographing them. They are like lightning. It's like they teleport, so it's very difficult photographing most of them. They are mostly found in the arid regions, desert regions, and so on. So they are ridiculously fast on sand. These ones, Micaria, actually don't have these characteristic spinnerets, but they are in the same family. This is probably the genus, the spider that I've sworn at and cursed at the most. They are not only ridiculously fast, but they never sit still. So many of these photos are actually taken while they're running around, like this one. Very iridescent colors, fascinating. Very small, very busy, very fast. I would love to get some better photos of them, but it's just so difficult. In many cases, I've taken like at least 50 to maybe 100 photos and only get 1 or 2 good photos. Then the wolf spiders. This is another very large family with many undescribed species. They can be free-living. Most of them are free-living. Some, just one genus in South Africa that lives in a funnel web, or they can live in burrows, in holes. So they have these characteristic posterior median eyes, very large eyes that also that reflect light. Same with any other members of this superfamily, the Lycosidia, like nursery web spiders and so on. So if you walk outside at night with a flashlight or between your head or a headlamp, you can see their eyes shining in the dark from very far away, actually. Sometimes when conditions are favorable, I can see literally hundreds of eyes on a single lawn. It's quite fascinating. This is one of the undescribed species, a Provipa. You can see the eyes are in a curve, this bottom row, which is a lot more curved than, for example, the burrowing wool spiders, the Hogna. But you can see the very characteristic large eyes, their main eyes. This is a stump-backed wool spider with their egg sac. So all wool spiders drag their egg sacs attached to their spinnerets. And when the eggs hatch, the babies climb on the mother's back, where they stay until they're big enough to disperse. This is the only spider family that carries spiders on their backs, like scorpions and amblypigi and so on. But the wool spiders are the only spiders that actually do this. The Trabea species. And then the lynx spiders. This is one of my favorite families. They're just adorable and very fun to observe. Very long spines on their front legs, very good eyesight. They've been observed catching prey in midair, so something flies above them and they just jump up and grab it in midair, or drop down from above to below, which is probably how they got their name, because of their cat-like hunting behavior. And there are many undescribed species in this family. So we have 3 genera in South Africa. We have the grass lynx spiders, Oxyopes, even though many of them are actually arboreal and are found in trees. Not many, but some. Then you get the green lynx spiders, very, very beautiful spiders that can actually change color as well, depending on the, not like like a chameleon, but after molts and so on, they can change color to suit the color of the grass or the vegetation, basically. So the ones in the drier areas are sometimes actually brown and not green. And then the other genus is the crowned lynx spiders. If this thing just wants to skip now. Come on. There we go. It's a crowned lynx spiders, mostly named after these little tufts of hair on the top of their head, which looks like a crown. This one resembles Ron Perlman, the actor Ron Perlman, a lot. So onto the running spiders. They're actually not as fast as the name suggests. I've seen many, many faster spiders. In most cases, the second leg pair from the front is the longest. That's how you just differentiate them from, for example, the flatties. So they're all free-living spiders. These are the ground running spiders, Hiriusa, that are also found mostly on sand and under rocks and so on. Then the Thanatis, they have this very clear heart mark. This outlines the spider's actual heart underneath. So this is the shape of the heart. So they have this very clear heart mark, this genus. Tabella species are the grass running spiders, mostly found on grass, very elongated bodies to blend in with long blades of grass. The Swamus, this is Swamus punctatus, is the orange running spider, also a very striking one. Okay, then the daddy longleg spiders. Everybody knows them. Most people know the common daddy longlegs, these ones. But you get much smaller ones as well. They all carry their eggs in their mouths, and when the eggs hatch, the babies basically cling to the egg sac like this there, and then they disperse. This is a common daddy longlegs with a egg sac. Looks like eggs with legs. This is one where the babies hatched and are clinging to the egg sac. This is Crossosprisa leoni, less common one. The Quamtana ones, or spotted daddy longlegs, they're quite small. I think this one was about 2 or 3 millimeters. So some of the daddy longleg spiders, you get the dwarf daddy longleg spiders as well that are very small. And then you get the really big ones, like this giant daddy longlegs, Artemia atlanta. I've only seen them once. They can get quite large. I think they are probably the largest of this family. Then the nursery web spiders. So they are called nursery web spiders because they deposit their eggs in a special nursery web where the babies hatch and they stay there until they're old enough, after 1 or 2 molts before they disperse. So the mother actually looks after this nursery. So she's usually close by. They're not the only family of spiders that actually do this nursery web thing. The greenling spiders also do that. This is the southern green funnel web nursery web spider. They only occur in KwaZulu-Natal, I think. Very beautiful green spiders. The crown nursery web spiders, there's incredible variation in this specific species. So they, even among in the same instar, they have some variation. So it's quite fascinating. They are called crown nursery web spiders because they have this little fringe, tuft of hair between the middle eyes. Then the large funnel web nursery web spiders, they have this little, the bottom 2 eyes are situated on tubercles. They point straight down. Chiasmopes, they look like something out of the Alien movie when they're carrying these egg sacs. So instead of, they do carry the egg sacs in their mouth parts, but under their body, while in the daddy longlegs, they are carried in front of the body. So this is how they walk with the egg sacs underneath them until the eggs are almost ready to hatch, and then they're deposited in the nursery web. And then everybody's favorite, the jumping spiders. It is the largest family not only in the world, but also South Africa. In South Africa, about more than 350 species, and in the world, about at least 6,500 species. So they are what we call gateway spiders. So these are the ones that, I like jumping spiders, but I hate all other spiders because they're ugly. So this is the one that starts people with liking spiders, basically. It's like, oh, wow, there are actually other cute ones as well, like the wool spiders and so on. So, yeah, they are also very intelligent spiders. A recent study actually indicate that some species can dream because they recorded REM sleep in one of the species where they start twitching and stuff. So, which is a strong indication that they actually dream. This is a Thayen species. They usually have these cute little eyelashes. Same with the Hylas species. Rini in a retreat. This is one of my favorite photos. Actually, it looks like she's smiling. The Hylas species are the biggest jumping spiders in the world. The biggest species, anyway, is from this genus. And the biggest one in South Africa in terms of body weight, anyway, is Hylas trilliaveni. So they're quite big for jumping spiders. This is Hylas argyrotoxus. Looks like it's wearing an Adidas jumpsuit. This is widely considered to be the smartest spider genus in the world, the Portia, called the dandy jumping spiders. They are spider hunters, so they are raniophagus. They have to hunt other spiders, and they can survey their environment to devise a plan of strategy. It's like, okay, what's the best way to go catch that spider in its web, or catch that one under the leaf or whatever. So they are strategic masterminds in the spider world. The Mimoracni, they mimic ants. This is a male Mimoracni ichneumon. They mimic slender ants, which I'll show later. This is a male. They have these elongated chelicerae, which is actually quite interesting, but I think we don't really have time for that. This is a female. They don't have the elongated chelicerae. A female of a different species, anyway. You can see that this little dip here is meant to mimic the thorax of an ant. And many ant mimics wave their front legs in the air to mimic the antennae. So this Pachybalus, it mimics little beetles, little ladybird beetles, basically. So this one is, I think this one was about 2 millimeters long, ridiculously small. And the Flatties, everybody knows the Flatties. I only recently, like in 2020, saw my first Flatty in KwaZulu-Natal. So they're not very common here at our house. But they're ridiculously fast as well. They might not be the fastest runners, but they have the fastest spin of any land animal in the world. So to turn around, basically, it's they can turn 3,000 degrees per second. I gave that little fact to Strike Nature for the book, and they said, so how many seconds does it, or split seconds does it take to make a 360 degree? It's like, you're welcome to do the math. I'm not going to do that. And they actually did include the math. I can't remember what it was, but yeah. We only have the 2 genera in South Africa, the Aniphops. They have this curved row of eyes, while the other genus, Selenops, has the straighter row of eyes. Then the huntsman spiders. They're medium to large spiders. The rain spiders falls in this family. It's also another fascinating family with plenty of undescribed species and so on. So these are the rain spiders, Palistis. This is Palistis superciliosus, is the most common one. If South Africa actually had a national spider, like we have a national tree or national fish or a flower, then this would probably be our national spider. Then the tree huntsman spiders, they are the most speciose, I think, in South Africa and maybe the world as well. So they're usually, because they're arboreal and live in trees mostly, they are usually green or brown, the color of bark. Then the desert huntsman spiders, like this May Bruno, they're mostly found in Namibia. The other genera, like the dancing white lady and the golden wheel spider. There's so much to say, actually, but I see we're actually running short on time. The Ballistella is more hairy huntsman spiders, the grass huntsman spiders. This one is unknown, actually. Peter Jäger looked at it. Peter Jäger is a German arachnologist, one of the world leading experts in huntsman spiders, and he says he's quite convinced this is a new genus, not only a new species, but a new genus, which is quite fascinating. The baboon spiders, I don't really like photographing baboon spiders. They're too big for my macro lens. So it's like photographing a small cat with a macro lens. So usually when I photograph them, I try to focus on smaller parts, parts of their body. Like this is the foot of a baboon spider, which shows their tarsal claws there. This is used to navigate rough surfaces. These are the scopulae. It's almost like the suction hairs or suction pads on geckos' feet that allows them to navigate smooth surfaces like glass. This is just to show the fangs of a baboon spider from the bottom. You can actually see the little holes in the fangs there, which is where the venom comes through. In the Therodiidae, another very large and very diverse family. Very understudied. I think most taxonomists in South Africa don't want to touch this family with a 50-foot pole. It's just too difficult to work on this family. You get the Araneophagus ones, like this Rhomphaea, that sometimes hunt other spiders. You get the kleptoparasitic ones, like this Argyrodes, that steal other spiders, the prey from other spiders. This is a mushroom cone-footed spider for Insidia species. I'm not sure really what they try to look like, but they probably have a reason for that. Come on. This is, I think it's called a biscuit cone-footed spider, but it looks like a flopped muffin or something that But yeah, they're also very small, about 2 or 3 millimeters. This is a male. This is the Argyrodes. They're kleptoparasitic. They live mostly in orb web spiders as webs, especially the golden orb weavers. So the golden orb weavers are pretty picky with the size of their prey. So if they catch a small fly, it's just too small for them. Then these spiders will close in on the prey and eat discarded prey, or sometimes feed with the spider on the same prey. They're also very tiny. Then this is a black button spider, a very young black button spider, which still has all its markings. These markings fade, the spider grows darker, and these markings fade until only like a red spot is left above the spinnerets. This is the same Pinder button spider that I posted earlier, just from the top. Very big spiders, probably about close to 20 millimeters in body length. And then this is the last spider family that I will show, the crab spiders. This is the third largest family in South Africa, also very diverse. Most of them have the four front legs that are longer than the rest. So they often sit like this, waiting for prey. So they're ambushers. And when prey is close, they just strike. You get the flower crab spiders that you mostly found on flowers. They're fascinating because many of the species can actually change color to suit the color of the flower, mostly between pink and white and yellow. And then the stumpy crab spiders, also very, very cute with the little grumpy faces. The wide-eyed crab spiders, what we usually call them, or you can call them hammerhead spiders because of the shape of the head. Some people like to call them Sid the Sloth spiders from after the sloth from Ice Age movies. Then green grass crab spiders. Despite the common name, I've mostly found them in trees. So I think they're more arboreal than they are grass living, but you probably would find many of them in the grass as well. The ground crab spiders, I mostly find them under rocks. The mask crab spiders, called because this looks like a mask. Almost looks like a Spider-Man mask, actually. And then the grass crab spiders, Runcinia. See with these macro photos, you can actually see these little spines, which actually helps the spider to grab and hold on to the prey so that the prey can't escape. Trichopagus, this is an undescribed species that's still waiting on a name. Also have these little eyelashes and almost like a monkey face. Beautiful, very, very beautiful spider, this one. And yeah, other interesting spiders. I see we're already almost at an hour, so I'm going to skip through this. This is the Porsche jumping spider actually hunting another spider. So this is one of the strategies they use, dropping down on their unsuspecting prey. So your spider hunters, they usually have to be very smart and well protected because spiders are dangerous prey. So this one, these ones, the pulp-footed spiders actually have the thickest cuticle of any spider. So they're like little tanks with, I think it will be very difficult to pierce their skin basically. So, for a different spider. So they're very well protected. This is another one of them. As you can see, the very thick front legs, where they get their name from. They're very slow moving, but they're very fast strikers. So they usually target spiders in their retreats. So they're like little home invaders. This is a Kuma, previously only found in Namibia, but this one was found in the Northern Cape, close to the Namibian border. So this was a first record for South Africa. Then the comb-footed spiders. This is from Faya. It actually invades other spiders' webs and throw a triangular web basically over its inhabitant. Coryzopella, they are one of the few comb-footed spiders that don't live in a web. So they're free living. They usually walk around in leaf litter, apparently. We actually know very little about these spiders. The pirate spiders, they use these very rake-like spines on their front legs to incapacitate other spiders in their webs. So they sit on the edge of the web and they pluck the silk until the owner of the web comes closer, and then they grab them with their spiny legs. Here you can see those rake-like spines. This is also, I'm not sure if they're supposed to look like eyes or whatever, but it's quite disturbing. Another pirate spider. Very similar to the Coryzopella is Coryzopelis. Is this one? This is an orb web spider that also does not spin an orb web and is also a free living hunter in the undergrowth. The Portia species, the dandy jumping spiders, which are the smartest ones. This is a male with the orange pulps, and this is a female with the white pulps. One of the strangest spiders probably in the world are the assassin spiders or pelican spiders because of their pelican appearance. This one was found in Vernon Crooks. It's a sub-adult male. We found 2 of them they're also very small. Fascinating spiders that actually trace, if they find a thread of silk left by another spider, they will follow this thread of silk and until they find the owner, and then they strike with their teeth with this little head. They strike straight down. This is the female. These spiders are only found in South Africa, Madagascar, and Australia, so they're very, very rare. Then other specialist hunters. So specialist hunters are spiders that prefer a specific prey. They are not generalist hunters that will eat whatever they can. Like this bolas spider, they only eat moths, and only male moths that are attracted to this pheromone on this little glue droplet contains pheromones of a specific moth species. So they can actually change this pheromone depending on what species of moth is most common in that area that night. The ones in South Africa, they swing their bolus actually. I think it was John Roth who did a study recently he determined that swinging the bolus actually spreads the pheromones faster or further in closed environments like in a tree, basically, with no wind. So you got the Amoxenidae, the termite hunters. They hunt only termites. They can dive into sand with their head first into sand and bury themselves. Then they lie upside down underneath the sand, and they detect the termites by the soil vibration or chemical cues. And either they run down the termites or they ambush them from under the sand. The ant-eating therodiids, they obviously mostly eat ants, but they do this little somersault, or what's been observed anyway, do a somersault over the ant, dropping the silk over them, and then running around them, enclosing them in silk. So they're also quite small spiders because they prey on ants. The beetle crab spiders, they mostly prey on bees and wasps. So they would drop down a thread of silk onto the wasp below and then bite it behind the head, or sometimes another place, but they always eventually move their fangs to behind the head. So mostly you will see them biting them there. This is another beetle crab spider. This one is Desiree Pelser's photos. That I said, this is not my photos because I've not had the privilege to photograph these spiders. These are the bolas spiders. This is another photo by Desiree of a different species. Sometimes it appears like they also mimic bird droppings to a certain extent. Then the mimics. So much to say about mimicry. Mostly you get defensive mimicry and aggressive mimicry. Defensive is when when something mimics another animal to escape predators, basically. While aggressive mimicry refers to when the model actually eats, the thing they are actually modeling or mimicking. So an ant mimic, aggressive ant mimic will eat the ants that they mimic. So there you have the dark sac spiders. They may not look much like ants, but they do associate with ants. These are Castanera. None of our species have been described yet, but they do occur here. These ones mimic velvet ants. And as some of you may know, velvet ants aren't actually ants, they're wingless wasps. So a few of the dark sac spiders actually mimic velvet ants. This is another one. They look just like velvet ants without the heads. Then the Apocynoma, they mimic ants as well. Very ant-like body shape. The jumping spiders, which I've discussed before. This is another male with elongated chelicerae. Note the very, very long fang. So this one was busy cleaning it, grooming itself. So we got this nice shot showing the length of that fang. This is the one I showed earlier. This is the male spider, female spider in the middle, and this is the slender ant that they actually mimic. So a very, very convincing display. This is another myrmearachne next to the ant, one of the ants among which it was found. The Nata species, once again, they don't look much like ants, but they behave a lot like ants. So they lift these little front legs of theirs around and keep it next to their head and wave it to mimic the antennae of ants. This is one of the aggressive mimics that actually prey on the ants they mimic, Mixcala. And then other mimics like this beetle mimic that I showed earlier. This is a new species, Ovibalus vidae, called the sheepy jumping spider. It was recently described, named after Vida van der Walt. It's not certain if they mimic something, but I think it was Debbie Taylor who found them among some of these cottony cushion scale insects. So because these insects are actually, or these animals are protected by ants, it would be beneficial to look like them to actually also get protected by ants. Very few animals mess with ants, actually. Then the Zodoriidae, this is one I showed earlier. The Mykesfontein Malines. These ones are usually also found among ballbiter ants. Also have a yellowish velvety abdomen. And then, yes, camouflage. Oh, sorry, I see we're running a little late, so I'm just going to rush through these. Yeah, obviously, it's very beneficial not to be seen, so they often mimic leaves, grass, twigs, bark, anything in nature. These are the crab spiders. This one is another one of Desiree Pelsa. I also haven't seen this species before because they mimic bird droppings. Lots of variation among them because bird droppings don't usually look, exactly the same way. So the flower crab spiders, they actually change color to suit the flower on which they sit. The tree crab spiders, the Tamara species, very difficult to see this one actually. There are the legs, the head, and the abdomen. The bark spiders, also, yeah, if I can see, you can see some other examples of how bark spiders look in this book. It's really fascinating, the diversity. So I'm not going to show this quickly, and let's wrap this up. They usually sit very flat against the bark. So it's very difficult to spot them when they're not inside their webs. And then the ones that mimic leaves, like the Sidiochaira showed earlier, and the Phoronsidia, I don't know what they mimic, like I said, but this is obviously also a sort of camouflage. So yeah, that's my book, me and my book, with both the Afrikaans and English versions. These are just some examples of the spreads. You can see the photos. It's only an 80-page book, but it's very informative. And yeah, I just want to thank Straight Nature for making this book look really awesome and for giving me the chance to do this. It was quite a lot of work, even for such a thin book, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity. especially working with Elian Boyens and yeah, everybody else at Strike, the graphic designers and so on, the photo editors. And thank you to Belinda and Brett for organizing this and allowing me here. So yeah, thank you and goodbye.
Wow, Rudi, what an unbelievably fascinating and obviously massive undertaking to narrow that down to a 1 hour talk. Just the comments, people have been enthralled by the photographs, the diversity of the species. Your sister says hello and is very proud of you. She's joined us for the talk. So yeah, in the interest of time, I think we can just to say thank you for that, and then let's pop over to some questions. We can start here with Darlene. Darlene has asked, with regards to the lynx spiders, why are some of the abdomens round and the others are pointed?
I'm not really sure if that actually serves a purpose. It's just the way some of them look. I don't think it's there's really any purpose behind it. Most of them are tapered abdomens, but the other Amatiliwa, the crown lynx spiders sometimes have a different shaped abdomen. So we don't really know. I mean, even if we could ask the spiders why that is, I'm even sure they wouldn't know. So there's a lot of things we don't know about spiders, and yeah, unfortunately, I'm not sure if we will be able to find out ever why some look like this and some look like that when those specific parts don't play any specific role really. So it's just how they look, how they have evolved, and it works for them. So yeah, sorry,
Fair
I
enough.
can't answer that
No, fair
properly.
enough. Well, it was interesting to me to hear how many undescribed species there are, that we're still in an age where we don't know, things haven't actually been formally
Yeah,
described yet, that we're still finding new things, which, we're still learning. And
yeah.
so an anonymous person has asked you, why are they called baboon spiders? Do you,
It's mostly because of their feet resemble the fingers of a baboon. Well, that's the consensus anyway.
okay.
Um, I think there are other theories as well, but that's the most common one is because their feet look like baboon fingers, basically, like blue baboon fingers.
Cool. Elmarie has asked, what is the percentage of poisonous spiders? And I suppose let's just keep it in the Southern African context. In South Africa, what do we have an idea of what that would be?
That would be more than 99% are not medically significant. So less than 1% are actually medically significant. And the rest are either harmless, completely harmless, or have very little effect on humans, more like even less than a bee sting or something. So it will hurt. A bite will mostly hurt. Some are very few are actually painless, but result in itching, swelling, just like a glorified mosquito bite, basically. And most of them, because then their venom isn't geared towards us, to humans. So they don't want to bite us. They don't need to bite us. Basically, they just do so in self-defense. And because we're not flies or cockroaches or whatever, their venom has very little effect on us. Most of them, 99% or more.
There we go. Asked and answered. Sharif has asked, what aspect of studying spiders do you enjoy the most?
Um, let's say studying them, but their behavior basically. I mean, looking at them is fun enough already, but seeing them in the natural environment and how they behave, like the ones that are very skittish for humans, some that are more friendly, if one could use that word, uh, some that love to walk on your hand, that keep jumping on your hand, and while others wouldn't want to touch there. And just a little differences. It's almost
Mm,
like they have different personalities, like humans. So it's like, yeah, I don't like to go out in big crowds, and this one does like to go out in big crowds. So just different preferences. The behavior of spiders, basically, watching
well,
them behave naturally. That's one of the fascinating things.
awesome. Mariska's asked, what do you know what the two indents on the back of a button spider's back are for?
There's actually four indents. Sometimes it's called the apodemes. This is where you can see it more clearly in some spiders, like the velvet spiders are very clear apodemes.
Mhm.
This is just where the internal organs and muscles are connected. So it basically pulls down from the inside. This is where the muscles are connected and it creates these little hollows. So it doesn't serve as any purpose other than a fixture point, basically, on the inside.
There we go, Mariska. Deline has asked, do we have any trapdoor spiders in South Africa or Southern
Oh,
Africa?
yes. Yes, we
What
have
family?
quite a lot, actually, more than most other countries. So we have open hole trapdoor spiders, cork-lid trapdoor spiders, wafer-lid trapdoor spiders. I think we have about 9 or 10, maybe, families of trapdoor spiders. So yeah, they are related to the baboon spiders. So in the same info order, they myglomorphs. They live much longer. Actually, the oldest spider in the world was a trapdoor spider from Australia, which lived up to 43 years old. And
Wow.
she actually didn't die of natural causes. She was eventually stung by a wasp. So she could have lived a few more years. But yeah, the myglomorphs grow very old. And yeah, we have some we also have the purse web spiders in South Africa, one of the rarest spiders in South Africa, only 2 species. Very rarely seen. I don't think they've actually ever been photographed alive. So would be lovely to see one of them one day.
Sure. Amazing. Cam's got a double question here. Does the bite of a hedgehog spider have any effects on people? And do you have any idea of how much spider anti-venom is there in South Africa, or is it even necessary?
The hedgehog spider is, I don't think there's ever been a confirmed bite from them, but we can safely assume that the venom is not medically significant, because it's just like, it's highly unlikely that it would be medically significant, but yeah, we can safely assume that their venom wouldn't have much effect on us at all, because they also prey on moths. They also use a pheromone to attract moths to them. But instead of throwing the bolus, they just sit there and wait for the moths to actually fly into them, just grab them. Sorry, the second question
Was
was,
about anti-venom,
oh yeah,
in
the
South Africa.
only antivenom that we have for spiders is the Latrodectus antivenom. It's the only spider that sometimes needs antivenom. It's the button spiders, mostly the black button spiders. But sometimes the same antivenom is administered for brown button spiders as well, especially with children and the elderly or people with a weak immune system that react, differently to them. But the black button spiders, the bites are very rare because these spiders aren't cynothropic like the brown button spiders or the American black widows or the Australian redback. They're not often found around houses, so bites are very rare. They mostly occur in fields, so maybe somebody that works in fields might get bitten by them. No one has ever died from their bites, but it's extremely painful, and most people would actually want to go to the hospital and get a dose of antivenom, maybe. But yeah, those are the only spiders that we have antivenom for. None of the other spiders. No violent spiders, sac spiders. None of them have any antivenom.
Perfect. Here we go. Sharon has asked, how long do spiders live for? I suppose that's very species and family dependent.
Yeah, most live about a year or two. Some of the bigger orb weavers would only live a year. Some of the araneomorphs, like the normal spiders, like some velvet spiders, actually can live up to 5 years. And I think that would be the limit for the typical spiders, is 5 years. Then your myglomorphs, like baboon spiders and trapdoor spiders, like I mentioned, can live much longer, sometimes up to 20 years, or like I said earlier, up to 43 years for some lucky individuals. So yeah, we're talking about at least maybe 10 to 20 years for the myglomorphs and upwards, depending on the species, as you said.
Sure. Jamin has asked, what role do spiders play in the animal or in the ecosystem?
Oh, a huge role. I mean, they are predators and they are prey. So they have a dual purpose, basically. They rid us of unwanted insects and stuff that are actually a nuisance or a pest to people, like flies and mosquitoes and so on. They can play a role in agriculture as well. They're ridding us of agricultural pests like some beetles and larvae and so on. And then, of course, they are prey to a huge majority of animals, birds, lizards, mammals, many things eat spiders, so they have a very important role. What was it? I think spiders eat like 18 million tons or something of prey a year, or something, basically equivalent of all of humanity eating
Wow.
meat. It's the same
Okay.
accounts for spiders. So yeah, they have a very important role to play.
Zania, I think I'm saying his name. I hope I'm saying the name correctly. Speaking of behavior, how popular is scholarly research into spider behavior? Would it also be called ethology?
I think it's called behavioral ecology. The American I showed earlier on the Kuruman spider walk, Dr. Mike Vickers, he's a behavioral ecologist. He basically studies the mating behaviors of jumping spiders and so on, or jumping spiders in general. So yeah, I'm not a scholar, but I think that's what it's called, behavioral ecology. I thought you can probably narrow it down to behavioral arachnology or something like that. So
Okay. Sharon's asked, are flatties poisonous?
they have venom like 19, like almost all spiders. Only one spider family in the world does not have venom. It's the hackled orb-web spiders. And two other genera from a different family. But in South Africa, only this one family is non-venomous, and the rest all have venom. They all rely on venom to kill their prey. But when people ask if something is venomous, they usually mean, is it dangerous? So we just usually say, no, their venom is not medically significant, or would have very little effect. So flatties, no, they are not medically significant at all. We've had a few confirmed bite from flatties, and the same, just a little bit of burning, a little bit of itching, and it's over in an hour or two, or a little bit longer, but like a glorified mosquito bite, like I said.
Great. So I think in the interest of time, let's just wrap up with a couple of general questions. I think what this has done is exactly this. The pictures have sparked curiosity. And a lot of these questions, I think people can find online and can look up and research themselves. But just to finish, two questions which are on a personal note, which I think will give you a chance to wrap up. Chanel has asked, what is your favorite spider? And Deline has asked, do you have any plans for another book on spiders? And I think we can wrap up like that.
Yeah. I don't really have a specific favorite. I have a few favorites, like the lynx spiders. I love the jumping spiders, obviously, but sometimes I feel jumping spiders receive enough love, so I need to throw out this love to other families and so on. The comb-footed spiders are very interesting. The orb-web spiders are very interesting. But if I would single one out, I think it would be the lynx spiders. I just love them, love their behavior.
Right.
So.
And then any plans for another book?
Oh yeah, no, this was a once-off thing, I think. Strake asked me basically to write the book, so I didn't approach them with the idea. I didn't even think I could do something like this. So they approached me and asked, and if they approach me and ask me again, then yes, we can talk again. But there's nothing from my side that I'm planning on writing. So.
Well, Rudi, all I can say is thank you so much for taking all this time with us. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. It's definitely sparked interest and comment from everybody. It's truly a fascinating talk on an unbelievably amazing species, and the diversity is just crazy. Thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge and your passion with us. Thank you to all of our participants. As Belinda has said, the book is available, 15% discount this week from online, as well as from the Kirstenbosch bookshop. A recording of this talk will be sent to everybody after the talk. I think it's a couple of days and then it gets sent to everybody who's registered. Look forward to seeing everybody in a month's time. Thank you, Rudi. Thank you to Belinda behind the scenes. We'll see you all again soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.